empowers individuals and organizations to strengthen critical thinking, ethical decision making, and cultural intelligence. Her work inspires reflective learning and meaningful leadership that creates lasting personal and organizational impact. That was a fantastic bio, and we are presenting her session.
Has taken this to another level and uses it as teaching, as true teaching points. So let's bring in Dr. Laura Wilhelm and say hi. Wilhelm.
Hi there. How are you?
So great to see you, Laura. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you.
Good.
Glad we can
good.
finally
good.
connect in cyberspace.
I know we have tried, I guess, to schedule this a couple of times, and the universe just got in the way. But we finally got this on the books, and I'm so glad that you're
Things
here.
happen when they're supposed to happen.
Absolutely.
We'll have an A+ interview now because it's the right time.
Of course, that's what makes it better. You know, it's all in the anticipation of what's coming.
Right. And it'll be off my plate, and it'll seem so anticlimactic.
Oh no, it's going to be the pinnacle. Is what this is going to be.
Absolutely. It depends on how people feel about public speaking. I am more of a teacher. I am more of a thinker. I am more, there are a lot of things I am. I will speak publicly when it's really important, like Ukrainian relief or something. But
well, right now
you're out there with an audience all the time.
Well, right now your audience is just me. We're just having a conversation.
Exactly.
And that's all this works. And then the fact that other people will listen in later, that's all fine.
Yes.
The thing is that our conversation, and just in our pre-chat, I learned so much and had so many golden nuggets coming from you already that I know there's going to be a lot of wonderful lessons for people who listen to this. So
I hope so.
Dr. Laura, first of all, what is your doctorate in, if you don't mind?
My doctorate, I write about it quite a bit in my chapter. It was actually international studies that got me through all of this into the Jim Britt book. I started off at Reed College in Portland, Oregon, did a major in Russian and a minor in classics, and then I got funding to go to the University of Kansas, which has a lot of well-known international programs, and I continued with Russian studies there. So for 6 years, I was fully funded to study many different languages.
Wow, so that's how you got into the intercultural work.
Exactly, yeah. I meet a lot of people my age that did something with international studies, but I was one of those, really diligent folks that thought I was going to be in academia or the State Department. Madeleine Albright was appointed the first female Secretary of State during this time. I thought I could be her. I mean, she spoke 7 languages, all the same ones I was learning. So it's like, oh boy, there are actually great careers for great women out there who, have done the rather rigorous and sometimes tedious work of mastering very difficult foreign languages.
Well, that's something I've always admired in people, the ability to speak multiple languages. I have really bad high school Spanish, and that's about as far as I can get.
It's not. It really is an aptitude. It's kind of like musical skills. Math, music, and foreign languages tend to be a related cluster of abilities. And when I was 4 or 5 years old, I was asking for violin lessons. My brother was doing piano, and I was teaching myself piano and several other musical instruments. So I had, and I was taking advanced math classes and going to math camps. And so I had that cluster very well developed, which is unusual for women, in fact. So my father, the research science, probably endowed me with most of those abilities except for music. And then my mother was very musical. So, it all just kind of came together in both me and my brother, who is also a PhD.
So that's where all the brains are in the world. They've all went in your family. That's what.
We have this growing cluster of 6 people who all have PhDs, and there are some other kids in the family that are coming up. So we could be a Guinness Book of World Records entry someday.
You know what? Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that. There's got to be a category for something like that.
There is, actually. in India they have bigger families, but ours we're trying to substitute quantity with quality.
Maybe you can do it on percentages.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. My father has been a real force in the neuroscience field for educational leadership. He has created revolutionary training programs that have altered the field forever. And so he was our first big mentor, I guess, and it applied to the home situation as well.
Wow.
So we were very lucky to have that kind of guidance as children, and especially as a female. Somebody that was so convinced of my abilities and wanted me to succeed in the world.
That's how many languages
and
do
you
you
take
speak
that
now?
with you wherever you go.
Yeah. How many languages do you speak?
I speak about 7 or 8 pretty well and have studied many others.
Wow.
And my husband is, he's on Duolingo still to this day. His favorite language is probably Latin or Greek. But he was a Latin instructor for 20 years, and now he's at a new place where he's teaching English. So, but he can, we both studied classics. He can still mine classical literature for,
Wow.
You could read, texts from the ancient world in translation.
Like I said, there's always something that I admired, having worked with organizations and counterparts in Europe, and all of them speak English beautifully. And of course, it's not their native language, and they speak multiple languages there because all of their neighbors are really close, and they all speak different languages.
Close by in their small countries.
Yeah.
No,
I remember speaking at a conference. I was invited to speak at a conference in Montenegro. And I was concerned because I didn't know any of the Southeastern European languages at all, obviously. And they said, "Oh no, the conference is going to be in English." I said, "Excuse me?" They said, "Yeah, we're holding the conference in English. So all of the nation states that used to be Yugoslavia, Romania, Cyprus, Greece, Germany, and Poland are all going to be present. So we're just going to speak in English."
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Just as easy as that.
Yeah, I actually speak some of those languages. I studied ancient Greek, and I went to Croatia 2 summers and studied it formally in Kansas. And it was sort of, Russian is a very difficult language. And if you know Russian, Croatian's very easy. That was kind of my extra language. And I can also manage well in Ukrainian because it's very similar to Russian. So you can sometimes throw some extra languages into the bag if you already know.
Get a little extra credit. A little extra credit.
Yeah, it's terrific.
But just some little nuances.
I think the myth of the monolingual American is really even long ago. Usually, most Americans had to study at least 1 or 2 languages in school.
We did,
and
yes,
very
absolutely.
often had some sort of heritage language, so they could know 3 or 4 languages. They just didn't use them. The English.
And that was just it. My family was Italian, and
Italian, sure, yeah. So
they spoke Italian amongst themselves, but they wouldn't teach us Italian because they kept the Italian for the adult secrets that they wanted to tell them. Didn't want us kids to
they'd
know.
rather you didn't know, right?
Exactly. So we got to learn Italian slang, basically.
Yeah,
we learned.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Now that it's such an asset to know foreign languages, I would imagine there are families that are trying to maintain their traditions more.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure. Well, and you see it more.
Serious. Yes. So
that was it too. With my grandparents, they said we came here to be American, and we're going to speak English,
and we're going to stick to that. Yeah. Yeah, well, my father, language was not his favorite thing, but he knew that children could easily learn language, that the window of opportunity is greatest when you're tiny.
When you're younger.
So he would always slip me French textbooks and French language books because that was what he'd study.
Wow.
And so he figured, and so that to this day, that's one of my favorite languages.
And so you've taken all of your love of languages and this global study of culture, and that's what you wrote about in your chapter in volume 18 of Cracking the Rich Code.
Breaking global barriers
to success. So let's talk a little bit about what you talked about in that chapter. What do you want people to get out of that?
Yeah, I identified many different areas that have been addressed in the consulting projects I've done. As a teacher, obviously, you're breaking linguistic barriers. Usually, people are learning English. Sometimes I was trying to learn Russian or some other language. So for me to excel in international studies, I needed to break some barriers of my own. So sometimes it was a mutual process. I'd work with a Russian friend on Russian, and she would work with me on English, and those can be really satisfying relationships. Not long ago, about 5 years ago or so, there was a young French real estate professional who contacted me, seeing my site, and he offered to help me with my French if I would help him with his English. So that I think is one of the best ways to study language, because both of you are kind of on an even keel that way.
Yes, what a wonderful opportunity.
Yes, and it's just one of those subjects. You have to really commit to it because it can be incredibly. You just slog through it. There's no content. It's just forms. You just have to keep mastering forms, even more so than music and math. You just have to keep learning things with precious
And you
little
have to stay in
information.
practice.
And you have to
And
stay
you
in
have to keep
practice. It's
using
like
it. Yeah,
any
you have to
instrument.
keep using it.
Yeah, and that's what makes it like music is, it's just practice of very repetitive, routine things. So children are generally better at that. Adults just get bored with it.
Well, I tell you, I'm about to give it a try because we inherited my great aunt's baby grand piano, and it's sitting there in my dining room.
Oh,
And my
terrific.
wife and I are determined to try to learn how to play it.
Marvelous.
Yeah, I know it's going to be a little bit of an undertaking. I can read music because I played the guitar back in high school
The way
days,
back when. Yeah.
but
It's been a long time
it's
since
been
I studied music.
a long time. But I
Uh-huh.
still have to figure out how to get all these fingers to do what they're supposed to do and the feet and everything else. But
Oh,
I'm
yes,
looking forward
absolutely.
to giving it a shot. But all of
Well,
this, when we talk about this uh, intercultural, the barriers that people face,
yes.
and we know this, right? We
Mhm.
know the barriers that face for language, for cultural reasons, for all
Yes.
so many different things that cause us to not understand each other when we try to
Yeah.
get into these environments. And I know that I've found if we stop looking at our differences and start looking at what we have in common, that's a good grounding to start with.
No question. Yeah, cultural programming plays a big role, I think, especially in women's development in almost every other country except the United States. I can't imagine living anywhere else in the world for that reason. And, like my father, he was unusually dedicated to my development, but generally, women are treated pretty equally. Generally, a lot of is expected of them in, mandatory education, K through 12. Often
Mm.
they're considered more responsible and better learners. So they're looked to as, potential leaders because of their learning capabilities. So that's,
Here in the U.S., you mean?
in the United States, yeah, and in
Yeah.
some Western countries. But I think that just the status of women in general is like nowhere else on earth than in the United States. The potential that women can reach.
Well, what's interesting is I've interviewed a lot of the co-authors in this book series since I
Hmm.
started doing the podcast, and I would say a great majority of them have been women, and they're
Yeah,
these
I think that's probably right.
amazingly successful women,
Yeah.
and
Many
yeah,
of whom often started in male-dominated professions and maybe got tired of that. Yeah, that's
so true.
that's yeah, no, getting into like leadership training and personal development, I think is often kind of the culmination of a long, long, frustrating career for women, where you hit all the glass ceilings and don't get what you deserve and aren't being paid what you're worth. So this is an area where you tend to be well regarded and well
Yeah,
compensated
and can excel.
and can excel
Yeah.
and have all sorts of war stories to tell.
So what are some of the lessons that you wanted people to take from your chapter?
From my chapter, I think just the idea that cultural barriers can be sort of insidious and invisible, and that you may think you're doing better with people from other cultures than you really are. They may be polite, but they are not receiving your message maybe the way that you think they are, because of their own programming and their own just the blinkers that everybody has.
That brings me to some conversations that I've had with some of my colleagues and things from overseas, and sometimes we'll have a tendency to make a pop culture reference to movies or TV shows or things like that, and some of those things are just foreign to them, because they are not familiar with some of those things that we make reference to. Now, nowadays, some of those things are will have more global reach. But at the same time, I know there have been many times I've had conversations about old classic movies like Boris Karloff stuff. And here are people I'm speaking to, and they're from Italy or from Crete and from Turkey, who had no idea who I was making reference to. It wasn't even an age reference, that it was somebody saying, "Oh yeah, we don't know who Vincent Price is because we're too young." It's like, no, they just never heard of him and they were the same age group.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, and the other thing, that is an interesting topic in itself, is that the vision of the United States is often gleaned from television shows and movies.
Well, that's true too.
Very extreme people like athletes and politicians and celebrities. So those are
unfortunately reality shows.
Yes, exactly. But
which
kind of the
really makes us look great, doesn't it?
American like us is not like that at all. We have nothing to do with those.
Yeah, I keep trying to tell people that even though I'm from New Jersey originally, we are not like Snooki.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, so say with the Donald Trump becoming president twice, I'm not here to air politics, but people are going to get a vision of the United States based upon those decisions, and presume that there is widespread support for the 1%, and that it may not be part of the culture, but it may be part of the vote that people will favor, the billionaires rather than the ordinary guys. Right. So it's like there's bifurcation there. I think it's like he's the one that's going to pay our bills, and he's the one that can show us how to prosper, and so we'll follow him. But you may not really buy into those values all the way.
And that is so very true. Having served for over 43 years in the public affairs world, I understand the concepts of perception and how important it is to have the proper image out there that you want to portray. And making sure that it is understood in the way that you want it understood. And unfortunately, the world has just gone askew now. So with representation of whatever. So
and I think there's so many Americans, and we're such individualists. I think there are a lot of Americans that wish we didn't need politics. They could just live our lives any way we wanted, and
well, what I've found, and my wife and I love to vacation on cruises. Because on a cruise ship you get to meet people from all over the world, all sorts of cultures, and we realize something. You take away the borders, you take away the politics, you take away all that stuff, we all get along fine.
It's just about people.
There is no reason to have fights and arguments and all this other stuff. You take away all that other all the rest of it, and as human to human, we all get along.
Yeah, it's amazing but true. Yeah. I found that in Russia, right after the fall of Russia, I was there in 1993, and managed to make good, close friends with many people behind the Iron Curtain. The Iron Curtain had just gone, but it was like, God, and I know that they were teachers, and I know they were accustomed to foreigners and all these things, but it's like, right, we all have common interests. I was about the same age as some of these young women. The lives we live were not so different. The government is telling us to hate each other.
There we go, right there. Yeah.
And that's what politics is all about. They set the agenda, they give us the goodies, and yet we, you know, citizen diplomacy is very important in this world, where you can make your own decisions about how people are.
And that is the important thing is, and that was something I learned from my father. My father was a blue collar guy, worked really hard his whole life, and if he didn't know how
Yep.
to do something, he would learn how to do it. And he always
Yeah.
said, nothing is beneath you. And he said, you should learn something new every day. Don't say no
Yes.
to things. And he said, you know, don't say you don't like something until you've tried it. Don't say you don't like that food until you've tasted it. But
Yeah, it's my family.
the most important lesson I think I learned from him was he said, don't say you don't like that person until you've given them a chance.
Yeah, and everybody knows things you don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm well aware of this because I'm one of these kind of suburban delicate doilies who gets my car fixed, and I mean, everything gets done for me, and I'm aware of the value of other people's knowledge and labor, and
Absolutely.
I could never make it on my own for 5 minutes, so that's the way it is with people who become knowledge workers sometimes. You're knowledgeable about what you know, but so are these other people.
Yeah, I always tell people you should never look down at anybody else because you can't make it without them.
No, absolutely.
You know,
Well, and also
somebody
realize,
built that road. Somebody built that road. Somebody pumped that gas. Somebody has to pick up that garbage, and you could not survive if they were not doing
yeah, we
that.
have
So
the
you need
luxury
them.
as what,
Yeah.
60-year-old adults, 70-year-old adults to read books and travel and talk to people and make videos
Mhm.
and have a really fun time with our jobs. I mean, we're living the dream, and most people don't have lives like that. I mean, you're blessed
It's
if you can be doing what you love and what you're great at, and had a lot of choices and
very
things.
true. Very
And that's
true.
and my father, it's like if you want, the life that will satisfy you always, that you have to work for it now, up front.
Okay.
Up front, you need to get into that place where you're gonna love your work so much you don't want to go home.
Everyone, if you are just tuning in on this, go back and listen to this from the beginning because we're having a delightful conversation with Dr. Laura Wilhelm, and we are learning all about really understanding intercultural relations. We're talking about recognizing people for their differences and for what we have in common and how well we can get along, and how to overcome all those barriers that are there and not really
Yeah,
there. You know,
exactly.
there are barriers are there that don't have to be
Mental
there. And
barriers
all it takes
that
is just some opening up those doors. Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
thing,
Opening up our mind and our hearts.
if you're a pragmatist, it makes no sense to be a racist, a homophobe, or an anti-Semite because those people have money and you can get some. And if the only kind of enlightenment you have is enlightened self-interest, that is sufficient to be, very conscious of cultural differences and biases that you might bring to business situations. And
What
in
was that
Los
old?
Angeles, my goodness, I mean, we have model minorities that can pay in cash for multi-million-dollar properties and would do it
Mhm.
with you, if they liked you.
Yeah.
And
What is
that
that old expression?
uh,
Don't cut off your nose to spite your face.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
It's
nowadays,
so true.
yeah, I mean, Jim Britt's group is one of the few that I've encountered since I've, been living in Los Angeles, where predominantly people are quite a bit like me, and predominantly it's easy to make connections. You really have to work at it in big cities because the playing field is very different.
How did you originally come across Jim and get involved in the book project?
This was through LinkedIn. Through LinkedIn, there was a guy named Matt Tamayo that was going to be writing a chapter in the book that I
Mhm.
was tapped for. He asked if I'd be interested in talking about lessons from business and life because it looked like I did some of those things. And then I was referred to another guy named Nick, and then he slated me over to Jim. So it's a
I love it.
LinkedIn connection. And it was funny too because I have done business development. I have worked with chambers of commerce. I taught in vocational schools. But I always considered myself mainly an academic. But I think this is true of a lot of people in these books. They've done a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And tell you what, I enjoy this more than a lot of things I did in academia. The things I like doing are writing and research and interviews and, those kinds of things. The things I didn't like doing were meetings and playing politics. And so I don't have that. But the skills that I gained from academia definitely carried over very well to all of this.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I do not, I actually, for some reason, do not have a copy of 18 on my shelf, but I'm going to make
Okay,
sure that I get one of those. Actually, I'll get one. Why don't we swap one with each other? I'll send you one of mine and you send me one of yours,
sounds
and
good.
we'll sign it for each other. How's that?
Sounds great. Yeah, actually, I did the couple of pictures that I had. This all came very fast. It was around my birthday, and they had to go to press the next month or something. So I didn't have pictures that had sufficient density or whatever to be on the cover.
Yeah.
So it just has Jim on the cover, and that's fine with me. I've got pictures inside. But
so you didn't get a special edition with your picture on the
yes,
cover?
any time you can work with that company and submit. I'll have to get some professional photographs done. But anyway, it looked like a great project, and I just jumped on it, even though I wasn't ready with the pictures. So
yeah, I was intrigued too when it was approached to me. When they first said cracking the rich code, I went, "Wait a minute, that's all for you Wall Street types." And he goes, "No, that's not
right,
what it's
right.
about.
Yes,
It's about richness of life." I'm like, bingo, I'm right there.
yeah, and that my father, he, like your family, came from a working class roots, and education was the way up. And he went to the Ivy League and realized there was this whole world of enrichment available, free of charge in libraries. This is long before the internet. This is, you
Oh yeah,
could learn anything you wanted to learn and do anything you wanted to do. And if, the more you know, the less you need. You don't need to make a huge salary if you're happy and enjoy learning and are, my husband and I are perfect examples of this. You can live a modest life that feels very rich
yeah.
if you know things and you're curious about them.
Richness all happens right here. Yeah,
Yes, you're going to museums and cruises and finding
whatever it
things out
takes.
and meeting
Yeah,
interesting people and trying different kinds of food, and that is adding a lot of meaning that doesn't have to be paid for.
absolutely. I love this. Laura, I wish we had even more time to chat, but we're almost out of time. It's getting tight on the clock here. So
Okay.
let's just so I want to just fast forward really quickly and talk about what you're doing now, because we hinted at it and
Okay.
how you reference movies and television and use them as kind of teaching tools with people.
Yes.
So could you talk a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, my latest project is actually this lady, Marilyn Monroe. It is her
Ooh,
centennial. So it's the 100th anniversary of her birth. She was born in 1926
wow.
and died in 1962. So she's going to
Wow.
be on everyone's radar for quite a while. But in
Hmm.
Hollywood, they're having big museum exhibits and auctions and all sorts of things relating to Marilyn Monroe. So for at least through the end of the year, I'll be doing a lot of content about her on my social media. And
Now
while
you were an entertainment reporter, right?
yes, it's one thing I
Mhm.
do just for fun. But in this area, it's very easy to find. It's like, look, if you've seen The Devil Wears Prada, it's accurate. It's accurate in kind of the demise of just sort of writing opportunities. And so I'm really happy to work on Hollywood stuff. It's here. You know, you know how to write. You're usually in great demand. You're not just sitting there
Excellent.
meeting the stars. So I have transitioned very happily, in fact, into this world I never expected to be part of. So
It
I am
is an
working on.
amazing world.
My husband loves the Rolling Stones, and they're coming out with an album soon called Foreign Tongues, of all things. There is a t-shirt.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see it.
Wow.
It says
Already get
Foreign
the
Tongues.
t-shirt.
Yeah. So
Well,
we're avidly anticipating that, and I'm going to be doing some articles on that since we're both, big foreign language buffs.
Yeah, thank you so much for the successfully completed of the day two event. We are thrilled to announce the successful completion of day one and day two of the Global Virtual Summit 2026. Over the past 2 days, we have been inspired by outstanding keynote speakers, visionary leaders, accomplished authors, entrepreneurs, researchers, coaches, and change makers from around the world. Their thought provoking presentations, powerful stories, and valuable insights have created an unforgettable learning experiences for our global audience. Since thank you to all our distinguished speakers, participants, organizing team, technical team, and attendees for your enthusiasm, support, and active participation. Your contributions have made this summit a remarkable success. Now you are excitedly looking forward to day three. Tomorrow promises another incredible lineup of world class speakers, insightful discussions, innovative ideas, and meaningful networking opportunities. We can't wait to welcome you back as we continue this inspiring global journey together. Thank you for being the part of the extraordinary event. See you on day three together. Let's continue to inspire, connect, and create a bigger future. Thank you, everyone.